This shouldn't be a shock to anybody. And it's 30 years of victims we got to get through. He's been terrorizing the general public for 30 years.
Sean Diddy Combs facing new allegations of sexual assault from a woman who claims the mogul raped her as payback for something she said about him and a possible connection to the death of another rapper. The accuser's lawyer is here with the details and the suit's shocking and disturbing claims. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. This latest lawsuit filed against Sean Diddy Combs has graphic claims of group sexual assault. So I want to start with that warning. Some of what you are going to hear is very disturbing.
Yo, what's poppin', Rick Mill family? Appreciate everybody that's been locking in. Been out for a while dealing with the repairs and everything coming back from Hurricane Milton, man. Went almost 6 days without power, so it was kind of crazy. But we're going to be catching up. Tuning back in, seeing what's going on with Diddy. It's been a while since we did a Diddy update, and Law and Order or Law and Crime, they definitely went ahead and did an update. So we're gonna be looking at that, taking some time to lock in and see what's going on. Let's go ahead and get our update in regards to the Diddy case. Let's go.
Woman Ashley Param claims she was sexually assaulted by Sean Diddy Combs at a home in Contra Costa County, California, back in March of 2018. Param isn't just suing Combs. She's also suing his former chief of staff, Christina Param, who Combs has called his right hand in social media posts in the past.
Isn't that who they said it was kind of like Ghislaine Maxwell? Yeah, I guess she's the equivalent of what they were saying. Let's go.
Combs has been adamant in responding to allegations in civil suits that he has never sexually assaulted or sex trafficked anyone. Right now, Combs is in jail in Brooklyn. He's being held without bail as he awaits trial on federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges. He has pleaded not guilty to those charges. Param is also suing a man named Shane Pierce, a Jane Doe and 3 John Does. The suit includes a trigger warning. Param claims one of those John Does that was there that night in March of 2018 actually claimed to be an undercover cop. We'll have more on that in just a bit. The suit claims Param met Shane Pierce at a bar in February of 2018 and that he FaceTimed Sean Combs. The suit states, defendant Shane then showed plaintiff defendant Diddy on his video call, which plaintiff ignored, stating she was not impressed by him, knowing defendant Diddy because she believed defendant Diddy had something to do with the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur. The suit goes on to say defendant Diddy heard plaintiff's statement and made a remark that plaintiff would pay for her statement regarding Tupac and overall dismissal of defendant Diddy. Then the next month, Param's suit says Shane Pierce invited her to his home. On March 23, 2018, defendant Shane invited plaintiff over to his home to assist him with his cancer medications because he stated he was weak and unable to open his medications. Then the suit claims Sean Combs arrived with Christina Param, his bodyguard, an unidentified woman, and another man. The suit says defendant Diddy entered the home in a grand, ready-to-party manner. His grandiose entrance was so loud that the dogs upstairs began barking. The suit claims Combs threatened Param with a knife. The suit states defendant Diddy then began advancing toward where plaintiff was sitting on defendant Shane's bed with a knife and held it to the right side of plaintiff's face and threatened to give her a, quote, Glasgow smile in retaliation for her previous statements on the video call. It continues. Defendant KK then made a threat to plaintiff that they could ship her off anywhere in the world and that she would never see her family or anyone she knew ever again. Param claims Combs and Pierce removed her clothes as she was held at knife point, and then Combs took a body.
It's amazing because it makes you really think now, like these men had the resources to really do that. So I guess it makes sense because she honestly may have been just afraid and being frightened of men of that power with those amount of resources, those billionaires, and he said, I'm gonna make you disappear. I know in Jamaica it take a lot less to make somebody disappear. So just imagine if he had all these different connections between all these different gangs and cartels, and if he probably just paid like somebody like a little Woody to go out there. And you seen they just put a hit on Rich Homie Quan. They said, what was it? It's supposed to be $800K, but I think he only got like $80 or something ridiculous like that. So just imagine. Or $800. It was something crazy. But just imagine that that's all it would take for these people to say, hey, I can make you disappear. It's something to be worried about. You got to take those threats lightly. You can't take them lightly.
Bottle from a large fanny pack. Defendant Diddy, the suit says, then squirted a bottle of liquid on plaintiff, which placed her in fear that she was being squirted with a chemical substance like acid. Plaintiff soon realized the substance was an oil/lubricant. Plaintiff was squirted with this liquid substance over the entirety of her naked body. What Param claims happened next is incredibly graphic and violent. The suit claims that Sean Combs sexually assaulted Param with a television remote control and told her that he could take her and she would never be seen again. Before this happened, Param claims that Combs and Coram had tried to force an IUD into her body. She also claims Combs forced her to take a pill that left her body feeling limp. I asked Ariel Mitchell, the lawyer representing Param, about her claims.
There are multiple ways, including the syringe IUD assault, the television remote, and the several individuals who raped her anally and vaginally. And I think it's important in this situation because we have seen complaints that have been less gruesome, and those people were listed as a John or a Jane Doe. I think it's very important and very courageous and want people to acknowledge somebody to not only say these things happen to them, but say it with their actual name. Anybody can hide behind a pseudonym and say X, Y, and Z happened to me because nobody will ever know it's them. But for her to actually come forward with her real name about her real story, I think we should give some credibility for that alone.
Now, Param claims she was sexually.
Now, one thing I will say about this, that is somewhat, there's facts in regards to that, because I'm not sure if y'all was thinking back, when the lead attorney, he did that whole breakdown of the original lawsuit. Everything was John Doe, or it gave a description of who the individual was, and people were able to piece together who the individual was that they were talking about. But now it seemed like this is actually an individual that just came straight forward and said, it's me. And this is the first time I'm hearing this in any of the cases, that this is the first individual that says, hey, it was me that this is happening to. And they put their real name out there. They're not a Jane Doe or a John Doe. It's actually a real person.
Sexually assaulted by the John Doe as well. And when it was over, her lawsuit claims that Combs, Pierce, Coram, and the John Doe went outside to smoke marijuana and cigarettes. The suit continues. Plaintiff then grabbed a knife from the kitchen and headed to the backyard where the defendants were smoking, as that was the only way to exit the premises onto the street. Plaintiff concealed the knife on her left side as she exited the apartment to the backyard area. The suit goes on. Plaintiff then sat down on a makeshift seat in the backyard when defendant Diddy noticed her presence and remarked that he was surprised she was able to walk because he had given her, quote, enough drugs to take out a horse, sensual, and that she was a sex worker. And it claims Combs even called his mother, Janice Combs, to persuade Param not to report the assault. The suit says, defendant Diddy then called his mother in an effort to further convince plaintiff not to report her assault. Defendant Diddy's mother yelled at plaintiff to not hurt her son. Plaintiff told defendant Diddy's mother that her son had violently raped plaintiff. Defendant Diddy's mother, seemingly unfazed by the statement, then continued her demands with plaintiff to take the money being offered and not report the rape to law enforcement. Now, after this, the suit describes voices being raised and Param actually raising the knife to Sean Combs, even grazing his abdomen with it. The suit claims the John Doe chased after her and a gun was actually fired at one point. The suit says defendant Doe 1, who had now caught up with plaintiff, advised plaintiff that he was an undercover cop. To this day, plaintiff is unsure of the truth or falsity of this statement. Here's Ariel Mitchell on that claim that the John Doe claimed to be an undercover officer.
The one thing that stood out to me through this whole thing was the security guard possibly being an undercover agent. It's not unreasonable to think maybe the government had placed a spy, if you will, into that agency. Similar, it makes me go back to thinking about RICO. The RICO laws were for mob bosses and mafiosos. So what did the government do? They sent undercover agents to infiltrate those mafia organizations and collect evidence from the inside. You know, I think we have no idea what the federal government has. If they
I can't really even think about that. Imagine if they really did have some informants inside Diddy's group and they just been collecting evidence. Like, what do the government have? What do they know? What y'all think? Put a comment below.
actually did have federal agents posing undercover and working for Mr. Combs administration and rising up in that administration. We have no idea what they know, and we won't know until trial time. So I think, while you thought that part out for you, I thought about that as well. But again, we're in a situation where we need to identify those people.
Now, we have no way to know whether there was actually an undercover police officer there that night. No way. But we do know that a neighbor called 911 that night because of noise. The suit says plaintiff informed the neighbor that it was Sean Combs who had raped her and shot at them, but the neighbor was unaware who defendant Diddy was. Shortly thereafter, a sheriff from the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department arrived at the neighbor's home. Plaintiff told the sheriff she had been violently gang raped by defendant Diddy and others, and that she did not have her clothes, phone, purse, car keys, or cell phone. Now, I've contacted the Contra Costa Sheriff's Office about the report made by Ashley Param. A spokesperson told me in an email, a report was taken on March 23, 2018. We take these cases seriously, and detectives thoroughly investigated the accusations. It was later determined the claims were unfounded. Now, I've actually requested a copy of that report from the sheriff's office. Ariel Mitchell said she has tried to request that report as well.
So I have paperwork from her, which is actually a document from the police telling her, the victim, that she could not get a copy of her own police report. It says this record is not subject to public disclosure. And I thought that was weird because I've never heard of a victim who made a report who couldn't get a copy of their own report. Mm-hmm. After we had spoken, they sent me an email saying that the only way they will release the records to me was if I sent them a civil subpoena. To actually filed the case, I have subpoena power, and I will subpoena them those records now.
Now, the suit claims that Ashley Param contacted her doctor 3 days after the alleged assault because she was.
See, that alone is a little fishy. Think about it. Think about that. Think about that. You're the victim. You filed a police report, and you don't get a copy? Yo, Diddy had motion, boy, to stop the police from being able to get them a copy of your own report.
Is concerned that she may have contracted an STD. Ariel Mitchell says Param also went to the ER and had a rape kit performed the following month.
The rape kit was done, I believe, about two and a half weeks after. So the rape kit didn't show anything. They actually did a X-ray and I believe an ultrasound while she was in the hospital as well. So what most people know about the vagina and anus is they do rapidly heal themselves. So the fact that it was that 2 to 3 week delay in between her actually going to the hospital. My issue was if the police were there and you're telling me, if I'm a police officer and somebody's telling me they've been violently gang raped, I don't care who they're saying it's by. The number one thing I'm going to do is call for backup. I'm going to call for an ambulance, emergency services, or I would myself take you to the hospital. I wouldn't just leave you there. So my first issue is why the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department, whoever their responding officer, didn't take her or didn't get any emergency services, because had he done that, the evidence would have been preserved. So there's, I feel like I have a botched police investigation. And then I had somebody who is in shock from a violent gang rape. And even, I think it's a reasonable time because it's people who never get a rape kit done and they just feel shame and they never even try to do anything. She contacted her doctor 3 days after the attack. She said, she got concerned that maybe she had an STD. She was really trying to even come to terms with what had happened to her. And it's like anybody, if this had happened to you, how long would it take you to do whatever the heck you're saying? How would you feel? How would you react? And even right now, you have no idea how you would feel or react because you're not in that situation. You're at home, safe, and you're not facing this type of threat.
The suit says officers from another police department were called to the hospital to take a report while that rape kit was actually being performed. At that time, Param didn't mention Sean Combs' name, according to the suit. I contacted that department to see what happened with that report. At the time of this recording, I have not yet heard back. I also asked Ariel Mitchell about Param's claim that Combs told her he assaulted her because of what she had said about the murder of Tupac Shakur.
To me, it wasn't far-fetched. I deal with a lot of celebrities on both sides, be them clients that I represent and be them defendants who I sue against. And one thing about all of them in common is ego. They're all egomaniacs. They're all an egomaniac. That's their main affliction, is their ego. And it did not surprise me. It actually seemed more so than not to be the case, because I know when we're talking about people, especially when you start getting to that A plus level celebrity status, these people have some of the largest egos that you could ever encounter. You can't even fathom the level of ego that they have. So
She's absolutely right though. Like Diddy was literally in plain sight for decades, doing what he wanted as he pleased, and now everything is all coming to light. We're gonna stay tuned and just getting updated on the case. I think this is very interesting, just to see what's going on in regards to Diddy. The accusations that are still coming, like there are still lawsuits that are being filed. It's just wild. This case, we really want to see who's associated, who did what, and actually get some facts, because everything at this moment is just all allegations. It's all allegations until we get to court, do the discovery, find out what needs to be discovered and what's actually factual and what's not, what can be proven, what evidence being admitted. So we're going to stay tuned. We're going to keep tracking the Diddy case. We're going to occasionally do an update here and now. I appreciate everybody that's been rocking with the Rip Mill family. If you just joined, welcome. Appreciate you. Stay tuned for all the entertainment. Been out for these last 6 days because it is Hurricane Milton. Might do an update on that as well too. But if you've been rocking with me and you watch this all the way through, appreciate you. Welcome to the family. Appreciate your time. And let's lock in, man. Drop a comment below. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all stay tuned. Take care, gang.